It might be the biggest restructuring in Volkswagen's history. Up to 100,000 jobs on the line, 4 factory closures, and brand spin-offs, according to multiple German media reports. All by 2030. But what's behind Volkswagen's massive cost-cutting push? According to VW's bosses, nothing less than the brand's survival. We must cut our costs and become more profitable. Independent experts seem to agree.
One could argue that these cuts should have been made years ago. The fact that they need to recalibrate the business or potentially face a slowdown.
Volkswagen had long announced its intention to tighten its purse strings, with 50,000 jobs to be terminated in Germany by 2030. But the scale of the measures currently being discussed is unprecedented, and if pushed through by the Supervisory Board on the 9th of July, could fundamentally reshape Europe's largest car maker. The prospective changes are dramatic, and markets have responded accordingly, with VW's shares trading at a 16-year low. Our business model that was so successful for decades doesn't work in today's world. Why does this business model no longer work? Given VW's unique management structure, is it possible for changes of this magnitude to actually be implemented? And can cutting costs really help Volkswagen back to competitiveness? Volkswagen's troubles have been compounding over time. Chinese manufacturers transformed their domestic market, eroding VW's position in a country it once relied on heavily. The European market hasn't bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. EV demand hasn't been as robust as expected. And more recently, significant amounts have gone towards US tariffs. Problems that, when put together, have exposed structural flaws VW can no longer escape.
China kind of papered over the cracks when huge profits were being redistributed from China back to Germany. And that enabled them to continue that business model in Europe. And now that fewer profits are being returned from China to Germany, the inefficiency has become evident. Now is the time for VW to restructure themselves.
For years, profits earned in China helped support a business that was becoming increasingly more expensive to run in Europe. But profits and market share are falling, and VW doesn't expect them to improve anytime soon. We can't assume that past sales and price levels will return to the markets, and we definitely can't assume markets will return to growth. Volkswagen now says it has to match its costs to that reality. One area of focus is production capacity.
We're making too many cars, right? At one point, Volkswagen was making like 12 million cars, and now it's obviously a lot lower, like 9 million. I think they still want to reduce it down to like 8 million. And so, you're making too many cars for a fixed population.
In 2025, Volkswagen's operating margin fell to 2.8%. By 2030, VW hopes to bring it back up to 8 to 10%. Key to achieving that goal will be aligning production with demand. We are once again at the forefront of competition with our products, but we aren't making enough money with them. We must cut our costs and become more profitable. That's the only way we can create the space we need for necessary investments in the future and growth. VW might also be able to pass on its cost savings to customers with lower sticker prices on cars. The aim is for more affordable EVs to be available to buyers. But they must do this in an increasingly competitive environment where consumers have more enticing products to choose from.
So the Chinese, I would say they're competitive on pricing, but we're not seeing them be super aggressive, and they're certainly not pricing at the level they are domestically. Where they are competing is on content. So they are offering you a fully equipped, potentially with more features, for a comparable price.
Volkswagen's challenge, then, is not to merely build cheaper cars. Instead, it must convince customers that its cars offer more value. And while its restructuring plans go some way towards improving its finances, whether it also improves VW's competitiveness is an entirely different matter. VW's management believes the cuts are necessary, especially in Germany.
The high production costs come from high employee costs and high energy costs. So it's all about cutting those, like I said, cutting the fat. As harsh as that sounds, it's really imperative that they do that in order to remain competitive. As new market entrants enter the region, they're working from a much lower cost base.
The question is, how easily can it make those cuts? Because of VW's unique management structure, the supervisory board has equal representation between shareholders and employee representatives. The state of Lower Saxony is also one of VW's largest shareholders and has typically sided with Labor. Volkswagen's potential restructuring is likely to be a complex negotiation.
It will be very difficult to get these job cuts through, and it will be more or less trying to convince workers and trade unions that this is a necessity. One could argue that these cuts should have been made years ago, and now it's all about a wake-up call for the unions, the fact that they need to recalibrate the business or potentially face a slow death.
Around
660,000 employees worldwide develop, produce, sell, and shape progress every day. My sincere thanks go to them all. The future of many of those 660,000 employees is now uncertain. Whether the biggest restructuring in Volkswagen's history actually becomes reality will depend on whether unions, the state of Lower Saxony, and shareholders are convinced that such sweeping cuts are necessary to make Volkswagen competitive again.